Hey there, welcome back. Great to see you again for law number 5, detach from the noise. If you haven't watched the previous episodes yet, you're missing some important steps in this journey. Just check the description for the links and give them a watch so you can keep building on your growth one law at a time. All right, let's dive in and explore how mastering emotional delay can change the way you make every decision. Now, law number 5, detach from the noise. Most people are not stopped by lack of ability. They are stopped by the distractions they cannot ignore. Noise is not just what you hear. It's anything that pulls your mind away from the work that will move you forward. It's the gossip that turns colleagues into imagined threats. It's the rumor that makes you panic before you've even checked the facts. It's the comment section that convinces you to doubt your own progress because strangers are unimpressed. The most damaging form of noise is the one you don't question, the story you accept without investigation, the advice you follow without testing, the criticism you take as truth because it's loud enough to seem important. When you are building something, a skill, a business, a body of work, noise is not just background interference. It is a constant pressure to change course for reasons that have nothing to do with your goals. And it never stops. In fact, the more visible your efforts become, the louder the noise will get. Take James Quick Tillis. He had everything a heavyweight contender could want: height, reach, speed, and an unpredictable style that could keep opponents guessing. But he also had a habit that sabotaged him. He let outside voices dictate his fight. The crowd wanted a slugfest, so he gave them one, even when it wasn't in his strategy. Reporters said he lacked aggression, so he forced himself to be reckless in matches that demanded patience. His attention was split between winning the fight in front of him and winning the approval of people who would never step into the ring. And in that split, his edge disappeared. Noise works like that in every field. In business, it's the entrepreneur who pivots too soon because investors keep asking for faster growth, even if the product isn't ready. In the arts, it's the musician who changes their sound because critics say the old style is over, only to lose the fans who loved them in the first place. In both cases, the noise convinces them to abandon what they've built for the sake of matching the moment, and matching the moment is never the same as leading it. Why does this happen? Because humans are wired to respond to social signals. We want acceptance, and rejection feels like danger. This instinct once kept us alive in small tribes where harmony was survival. But in the modern world, it turns into a trap. We mistake volume for truth and urgency for importance. The mind thinks, if I don't respond to this, I'll lose my place. But the reality is the opposite. Responding to every noise means you never claim your place at all. Growth begins the moment you choose to keep moving forward despite the chatter. That choice is harder than it sounds. It requires you to sit in discomfort when people misunderstand you, to keep building when no one is applauding, to stick with your process when others think you're slow or wrong. But that's the moment the tide starts to turn. The boxer who ignores the crowd and sticks to his jab wears his opponent down over 12 rounds. The entrepreneur who ignores market panic and holds the course through a dip emerges with a product no one else could match. The artist who keeps refining their craft instead of chasing every trend eventually creates something timeless. Detaching from the noise is not about isolation. It's about choosing what is worth your energy. You still listen, but you separate observation from reaction. You let the voices come and go without letting them drag your hands from the work in front of you. The longer you hold this discipline, the more your growth compounds. Because the truth is, most people will never master this. They will keep chasing the latest echo, running from one distraction to the next, never staying still long enough to build something lasting. But the few who can detach, they become unstoppable, not because they move faster, but because they never stop moving in the right direction. In the end, noise only has the power you give it. Every rumor fades, every trend changes, every opinion is replaced by a new one. But the work you do in quiet focus, the hours spent refining, building, and improving without reacting to every passing signal, that work compounds. It grows into skill, reputation, and strength that no burst of noise can erase. Think of your focus as a fortress. The walls are built from discipline. The gates are guarded by your attention. You decide who enters, who passes by, and who remains outside shouting in the wind. Those who learn this control not only protect their growth, they accelerate it. The crowd will always try to pull you into their rhythm. Detachment is the decision to keep your own. Psychology of noise is rarely accidental. In politics, in business, and personal life, it is often engineered. A rival knows they can't stop your progress directly, so they seed doubts, rumors, or urgent distractions to pull you off course. Sometimes they do it openly, other times so subtly you think you discovered the problem yourself. Psychologists understand this as attention hijacking. The human brain evolved to treat sudden change in the environment as a potential threat. A sharp sound, a breaking headline, a sudden emotional outburst, these spike your adrenaline and force your focus to shift. In prehistoric times, this kept you alive when predators moved in the grass. Today, it makes you vulnerable to manipulation. Those who understand this can pull you into their timing. They will flood you with irrelevant information, bait you into defending yourself, or draw you into side arguments that have nothing to do with your real objective. Every minute you spend reacting is a minute not spent building. Look closely at high-pressure environments, trading floors, political campaigns, competitive sports, and you'll see noise everywhere. Sometimes it's literal. Commentators speculating, opponents trash-talking, phones ringing. Sometimes it's psychological, urgent opportunities that require you to drop what you're doing, or emergencies that turn out to be nothing. The purpose is the same, to keep you in a constant state of reaction, because reactive people are predictable. People in different positions experience this differently. Those with money or status are often shielded from petty noise, but when it does reach them, it's amplified. Think hostile media storms or coordinated opposition. Those without power face a different trap, constant low-level noise in the form of gossip, unsolicited advice, and the pressure to conform to the expectations of their immediate circle. In both cases, the effect is the same. Your focus is broken and your growth slows. The truth is, noise is addictive. Our brains reward novelty with dopamine, so every rumor, message, or trending topic feels urgent. But urgency is often a trap. The more you jump at every signal, the easier you are to control. This is why detachment is so powerful. It interrupts the cycle. When you pause instead of reacting, you give yourself space to see the intent behind the noise. You notice patterns, who benefits when you are distracted, what tends to pull you off course, and how your energy is drained when you respond to every signal. With enough practice, you reach a point where noise is just part of the environment, like traffic outside your window, and your work continues without interruption. The masters of this law turn noise into a weapon of their own. By refusing to be drawn in, they make others wonder what they're thinking, or whether they're even paying attention. This uncertainty forces others to overextend themselves, filling the silence with their own mistakes. Turning detachment into strategy is not just a shield, it is a lever. Once you can filter out the noise, you can use that control to guide interactions, shape perceptions, and set the tempo of the game. Noise no longer becomes something you avoid, it becomes something you manage. The first and most powerful way to do this is through pace control. In any exchange, negotiation, debate, or even casual conversation, the one who dictates the timing holds the advantage. In negotiations, skilled dealmakers often delay their responses, not because they need more time, but because the waiting makes the other side uneasy. People mistake silence for deep thought, or worse, disapproval. They begin filling the gap with concessions, over-explaining their position, or revealing information they never intended to share. Warren Buffett, one of the most disciplined investors in history, is a master of pace control. While markets surge and collapse in reaction to headlines, Buffett famously avoids reacting at all. He once said, "The stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient." His refusal to move with the crowd's urgency forces the market to come to him on his terms. This principle applies far beyond finance. In boxing, pace control means forcing the opponent to fight at your rhythm, In chess, it means dictating the tempo so your opponent is always reacting, never initiating. In leadership, it means structuring your communications and decisions so that your timing becomes the default pace for everyone around you. The more people adjust to your rhythm, the more control you have without appearing to exert it. Then there is strategic silence, the deliberate choice to let a moment breathe until others can't take the tension. Social psychology calls this the discomfort of uncertainty. People are far more distressed by not knowing where they stand than by receiving bad news outright. When you refuse to react immediately, you create a space others feel compelled to fill. They may reveal motives, make premature commitments, or simply show you what matters most to them. This is why certain CEOs, when facing a media storm, refuse to comment until the noise dies down. Every news cycle has a lifespan, and rushing to respond can lock you into a position before you have all the facts. A quiet, measured response delivered later not only carries more weight, it makes the earlier frenzy look impulsive by contrast. But detachment isn't just about what you do, it's about what you allow in. History's most effective leaders built systems to filter noise before it reached them. Ancient emperors had layers of advisors to ensure they only heard information worth their attention. Modern executives use chiefs of staff, communications directors, and personal assistants to act as gatekeepers. This is not luxury, it's necessity. Constant exposure to every rumor, complaint, and half-formed idea erodes clarity. For those without armies of staff, the principle is the same: create filters. Decide how and when you'll check messages. Keep a short list of people whose input you truly value. Resist the temptation to join every group chat or respond to every urgent ping. If something is truly critical, it will survive your delay. The real power emerges when you reverse the game and use noise against others. In sports, this is the fighter who stops reacting to feints. The opponent, expecting the usual twitch or flinch, begins to wonder if their tactics are failing. They commit harder, more openly, and eventually reveal the real attack. In business, it's the manager who listens calmly to a heated complaint without defending themselves, allowing the other person to speak so much that they expose their own inconsistencies. One of the most famous examples of detachment as a weapon comes from Steve Jobs in the late 1990s. When Apple was on the brink of collapse, journalists and analysts declared the company finished. Jobs could have tried to counter every headline, reassure every critic, or explain himself endlessly. Instead, he focused entirely on the work, refining products, rebuilding culture, and preparing for the iMac launch. By refusing to feed the noise, he let the criticism burn itself out. And when Apple finally delivered, the results spoke louder than any rebuttal could have. This is the heart of the law. Detachment is not passivity. It is selective engagement. You decide when and how to respond, if at all. And when you do respond, it is on your schedule, with your full attention, unclouded by the distractions others try to force on you. To make this real in your life, start with small acts. When you receive a provocative message, let it sit for a day before answering. When you hear gossip, treat it like static, background noise that doesn't deserve your energy. When you must act, act deliberately, without showing all the thinking that went into your move. Over time, people will adjust to the fact that you cannot be rushed, baited, or distracted. They will begin to play at your speed, not theirs. And once the world moves at your speed, you're no longer reacting to it, it's reacting to you. The long game of detachment from noise is not simply a tactic for the day-to-day. It is an investment in the future. Every time you resist the pull to react to gossip, provocation, or the latest urgent trend, you are protecting resources you will need later: mental clarity, emotional stability, and physical energy. These reserves, when preserved, can be deployed with precision at the moments that truly matter. History favors those who think beyond the immediate skirmish. Leaders who reacted to every insult, every challenge, every ripple of public opinion often exhausted themselves long before the decisive battle. Those who played the long game, who saved their energy for when the stakes were real, shaped the outcome of entire eras. The same principle applies at a personal level. The attention you save today compounds over time. Like capital in a bank account, your focus grows in value the longer it remains unspent on trivialities. This is why the calmest people often seem to move faster in the long run. They are not burning themselves out on side fights. Many traditions across time and geography recognize this, not as religion, but as survival. In the teachings of Lord Buddha, the principle of right speech was less about moralizing and more about mental economy, avoiding idle chatter because it scatters the mind's focus. In the Christian Gospels, there are moments when Jesus deliberately withdraws from crowds before making critical decisions. This is not retreat, it is clarity before commitment. Hindu epics, like the Mahabharata, speak of warriors being reminded to act in alignment with their dharma, not the roar of the crowd. And in Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius counseled himself daily not to be swayed by praise or criticism, because both can be forms of noise that distort judgment. These examples are not about belief systems. They are reminders that across cultures, the greatest minds understood the cost of unfiltered distraction. Noise can also be turned into a weapon. Withholding your energy, your reaction, your attention can unnerve those who expect to control you through provocation. In high-stakes negotiations, silence can make the other side rush to fill the gap with concessions. In sports, an athlete who refuses to react to taunts forces opponents to overcommit in frustration. In politics and business, ignoring calculated attacks often leaves the instigator flailing for relevance. Your restraint becomes their discomfort. Zooming out even further, the fate of entire civilizations has hinged on their ability to filter noise. Some empires collapsed because their leaders could not resist the urge to respond to every provocation at the edges of their territory, bleeding resources until they could no longer defend their core. Others thrived for centuries by keeping their focus on long-term stability, refusing to be baited into endless small wars. The lesson is clear. The energy you squander on distractions today may be the energy you need to survive tomorrow. This is also where your past becomes a resource. The person you are today is the sum of the choices you made yesterday, the times you resisted the pull of distraction, and the times you didn't. Mistakes are not just scars, they are maps showing you where the traps lie. The more you learn from them, the less noise will own you. Each time you detach, you are training for the next moment when it will matter even more. Detachment, then, is not absence, it is selective presence. It is choosing where you will place yourself fully and where you will let the moment pass without you. It is knowing that the world's noise will never end, but your energy is finite, and every drop of it should be spent on something that endures. In the long game, the winner is not the one who made the most moves. It is the one who still had strength left when the decisive moment arrived. Detachment from noise is not a single decision, it is a lifelong discipline. You will face it every morning when you wake up and reach for your phone. You will face it in the middle of your workday when someone pulls you into a conversation that has nothing to do with your goals. You will face it at night when your thoughts replay the criticisms and opinions of the day. In the moment, it always feels easier to engage, to answer back, to defend yourself, to chase the latest flash of urgency. The temptation is constant because reacting gives the illusion of control. But in reality, the more you react, the more you surrender control to whoever or whatever provoked you. Detachment is the opposite of surrender. It is the quiet claim of your time, your attention, and your energy. It is the refusal to be dragged into battles that do not matter, no matter how loud the invitation. Think of your focus as a fire. Every word you speak, every thought you dwell on, every argument you entertain, these are logs you place on the flames. The wrong logs produce smoke and confusion. The right logs produce heat and light. If you burn your resources on noise, you will have nothing left to fuel the work that matters most. The discipline is simple to understand but hard to master. You do not need to have an opinion on everything. You do not need to respond to every provocation. You do not need to explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. And when you resist the pull of noise, something remarkable happens. Your actions start to speak for you. Over time, the results of your focus become undeniable. The people who once demanded your attention begin to fall silent because your work has outlasted their words. In the long arc of life, the ones who rise are not necessarily the most talented, the most connected, or even the most intelligent. They are the ones who protect their focus the way a fortress protects its gates. They decide what enters, and they decide when to act. Your past will have taught you, often the hard way, which distractions cost you the most. Your future will demand that you remember these lessons. And every time you choose detachment, you are not just protecting this moment's focus. You are investing in the strength, clarity, and power you will have when it matters most. Noise will never stop. The world will always have something urgent, someone talking, and somewhere to pull your attention. The question is not whether it will be there. The question is whether it will own you. All right, that's a wrap for part 5. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate your time and energy. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and keeps the content coming your way. And be sure to check out part 3, where we dive into law number 6, refine your weakness. And as usual, it's going to be a powerful one, and you definitely don't want to miss it. Until then, take care and keep growing. See you in the next one.